Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Shout out to Replicant Fish for this one. And here's the deal. After listening to his latest about women warning men who cheat, something dawned on me. Many of my experiences have forced me to learn to deal with the subconscious minds of people without being formally trained in psychology. And the first is growing up amongst black people in the Gulf South with all these subconscious biases that we have against each other. And the second being the black American woman in all of her diversity, from the lionesses to the hyena B words. Shout out to Crimson Cure for that dichotomy, from saints to German shepherds and from the feminine to the masculine niches. So to navigate and survive physically, let alone socially, somebody's got to pay close attention to the behaviors and learn the triggers that people don't even know they have. And not even just to take advantage of them, but to simply be invisible to them or to convince them preemptively that you're not even the one at whom they're angry. You have to learn buttons in people's minds and both the subconscious and conscious parts of these minds. In a nutshell, even if you're not trying to manipulate and con people, you have to learn the same skill. So right now, there are women who see faithful men as only being so because, well, they can't cheat. And therefore, they don't want these men because they want men who can cheat to not cheat. And after enough discussion of this in spaces to which men aren't welcome, like hair salons, trust me when I tell you that Western women are already becoming more turned off by men who aren't pursued by other women, even while these same women will refuse to shoot their own shots at men and pursue them. As these discussions continue, there's going to come a time when, if it hasn't already come to that, a woman will not only determine a man's manhood and therefore his value by how many women pursue him, but by his cheating. They will no longer look at the ability to cheat. They will actually determine his ability by his actual cheating and not by just opportunities. In other words, they'll only want proven cheaters. Currently, and see, on the video to which Replicant Fish referred, the men said, "Do you understand how traumatizing this can be?" to the woman that told them this, and she said, "I don't want to hear about those men." And that right there showed this attitude, a hatred for male fidelity. There's a disdain for it. This was either in her subconscious and it came into a conscious because it irritated her, or it was already in her conscious mind. Either way, that was a point at which we knew she was aware of this. I don't want to hear about them. Currently, most want the men to be able to cheat, but not to cheat on them. And that's what most women are looking for. We don't know the stats on how many women today want which one. A man who can but doesn't versus a man who does to prove that he can. But we can tell that both exist. Simply put, in order to socially win competitions they have with each other, women will become more toxic in their standards. Now, that's one phenomena. The second phenomena is one in black men, another evolution taking place. There are men who have issues with black women, and included amongst the reasons are their own moms, let alone aunts, grandmoms, older sisters. But the reason that is not included is the blackness of the women itself. See, these men don't yet hate the lips, nose, and hair and color of black women. They're clear about this. Because pro-black rhetoric, when it's sincere and when it's not, has prevented this from developing. And these men are consciously not willing to fall into that sort of hatred. However, as more and more younger men come through the ranks of these neck-rolling, attitude-having, finger-snapping stereotypes as aunts and moms, grandmoms, and older sisters, who themselves believe that their savagery and ratchetness comes with being black, these younger men, unexposed to pro-black rhetoric with any substance to it, and told beforehand that pro-wax and pro-blacks are the same thing with no difference, that a hotep is the same as a no-tep, then you can guess what's next. these men will grow to associate the dysfunction with black womanhood, and maybe, hopefully not, but maybe with blackness itself. In the best case, they will associate these so-called masculine traits in women with dysfunction and therefore learn to hate the traits too. I mean, physical, phenotypical traits. So exactly what sisters are now falsely claiming will become true. A crop of black men who hate black women, not hating them though because they're black women, but learning to hate their black womanhood, their blackness juxtaposed with their womanhood, because of the traits, behavioral traits, mind you, under the control of these ladies. They'll hate black women because of the contrast they'll see between sisters and other women in parenting and mating, but this crop of boys becoming men will be raised by whom they hate and will hate the blackness in black women by extension of their hatred for valid reasons. This will start off as subconscious, if it doesn't already exist. But as with many things, they will become aware, conscious of it, and may or may not care to exercise that invalid hatred, because that's going to be work. Some will never become aware of it. Others will become aware and decide not to do the work to remove that invalid hatred because they know they didn't teach themselves that invalid hatred. Others will become aware of it and will be nice enough, gracious enough, industrious enough, and have enough free time to exercise that demon from themselves. And they still will probably wind up with a non-black woman who simply treats them better because working on oneself doesn't change the party that caused you to need that work. And as for me, I don't have such a hatred. I also grew up very Huxtable. And despite my mom's not quite black appearance, I saw black moms of every hue and phenotype being as functional and loving as black boomer moms can be. There was that tough love often, but it was love with nurturing nonetheless. This, along with the exposure to pro-black rhetoric and people that actually had substance, is why I couldn't develop this hatred that I know was going to come up later. But in my comment sections, I see it more and more, and it's not yet for the phenotype of the women that cause the hatred, but it is for this block of women. Based on the behavior still, we won't be able to stop it from extending to the phenotype because, simply put, Western men are already too accepting of the shortcomings and even outright evils of the wicked witches of the West, and we've let this grow too far. To the detriment of us, and for whatever it's worth, even to the detriment of women who aren't a part of the problem. I wish I had better news. I'm sorry that I don't. I hope that by saying this, it becomes not true, that it never materializes. That being said, thanks for listening. Black heart, black mind, blackout, and this has been another explanation of why I always end by saying Assalamu alaikum and black heterosexual non-select male power because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day.